No, I hope not.
We are live.
There we go.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Town of Litchfield Board of Selectmen's meeting for December 8th, 2014. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The board is just coming out of a paperwork review and a brief non-public relating to RSA 91A:3, Roman 2, Section A, compensation. First up is a review of items for consent. In the consent folder this evening, we have the minutes of November 24th. We have the accounts payable manifest for $1,180,875.04. The payroll manifest for $49,158.55. A supplemental tax warrant, map 2, lot 14.4. Okay. Abatements ×3 for administrative corrections. A veterans tax credit application approval for seven of them. And then authorization of grant application to New Hampshire the Beautiful for the proposed Baylor.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
I just would point out that the reason your accounts payable manifest is over $1 million is $900,000. Some of that is your payment to the county.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always choke on the number when it gets that high.
Yeah.
And rightly so. All right, any other discussion on the consent items? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 500. Moving on to requests for items for other business. Is there any other topics we want to add to tonight's agenda?
Nope.
Okay.
I just wanted to check if something was on there, that was all.
Yeah,
It is.
okay. All right, if there's no other items to be added, the agenda will stay as published. First up will be a report regarding Joint Loss Safety Committee. Chief O'Brien?
Thank you.
This was requested by Selectman Byron. And good evening.
Good evening. As you know, you were a member of the Joint Loss Management Committee. We are having our final meeting tomorrow, and we'll be in full compliance with the requirements from the state. This year was our second renewal for Prime 3 through Prime X. We passed that, and we're good for the next 3 years. That some of the things that it covers is our safety policy, our temporary alternative duty, harassment policies, slip, trip, and fall policies. We do our state submissions. We also do facility inspections, and we monitor claims reporting. It gives us a benefit, a discount on our insurance.
Workers' comp, right?
Correct.
Yep.
And right now, like I said, tomorrow will be our final meeting of the year. Then we'll set up for next year and move on from there. We've identified some issues. Selectman Bork came to one of the meetings and brought in some concerns, and we looked into those. So I think we have a good open communication with all the department heads that come into the meeting and establish compliance with the joint loss.
Mr. Chairman, have we had a Labor Department audit in the past year, too? Because they're going around, they're doing an audit of a lot of the town.
There was a couple years back.
2 years back?
I think it was longer than that.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't had one in the most recent round that they're doing, so I've been expecting
I
that
was
we
going
will
to say,
see
you may be getting a knock on the door.
Okay.
Okay. Byron?
Chief, can you go through, you said Prime 3?
Yes.
Can you explain that a little
It's
bit?
it's almost like their Primex's accreditation for joint loss. And
They have different levels?
They do.
Yeah.
And the Prime 3 level is the top level that you get. And it means that all of our policies and procedures are meeting the best standards for the current laws and such.
Okay. In terms of, what is the requirement for the number of meetings a year that you have?
4.
4? So you haven't one a quarter?
We do them basically quarterly.
And that's the Labor Department standard.
Yes.
You have to
And-
have 4 with it.
I believe it's statute too.
Yeah.
They require it.
And who's serving on the committees now, and are there any problems with people attending or anything like that? Or-
We have, we don't have 100% attendance, but we do have a good majority of the people come in. From the fire department, the town hall, the police department, we have, a good amount of participation when Selectman Bork was there.
Library?
Library's religious on it.
So you have a good cross-section.
We do,
Absolutely.
we do.
Good. I'm all set.
Anything else?
No, I'm all set, that's fine.
Well, thank you, chief.
Great, thank you.
Appreciate your support.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Chief.
Have a good evening.
Have a good one, Chief.
All right, moving along our agenda, administrative report, new business, there is no new business. Because all we are all about is budget.
Time to go.
So,
No.
old business.
No shortage of old business,
Yeah, so first up is deliberative session.
Yeah, I'm gonna sneak something in before that first.
Okay, go ahead.
Just, you may be wondering how we fared with the storm over Thanksgiving, and clearly that would have added costs to, that we may not have projected to that magnitude. We had obviously, we had labor costs in police, fire, highway department. We had material costs in highway department. So I ran today, again, a projection capturing all of those, plus capturing other things that we've come to know in the past couple of past month or so. We have an added challenge of, given how we are paying, given our payroll is normally on a Thursday, we have a problem with Thursday being January 1st. So we will be issuing paycheck on December 31st. Cash, generally not an issue. Most of our things are accrued, so it doesn't really matter. The one area it does matter is, like, New Hampshire retirement is based on the number of paychecks we pay out in a given month. So by adding a 5th payroll to December, we picked up some additional cost there. The normal labor costs we spread, so I'm not worried about those, but I did pick up some costs there. Bottom line is that sort of, we've been moving back from that $100,000 sort of benchmark that I liked having to, we're at about $54,000 right now. When I pull in the warrant articles that we've completed, or warrant articles that aren't special warrant articles, so technically they fall to the bottom line, that leaves us a difference of about $76,000. So,
$76,000 in the positive?
in the positive, oh yeah, in the positive, yeah.
I'm not sure I understand. When you say pull in those warrant articles, what do you mean by pull them in?
Well, it count that as available funding. Without that, we pick up about $22,000 from those articles that aren't spent, that the work is complete. So,
Like the town hall roof.
right, exactly.
So you're talking underspent warrant articles?
Yeah, underspent warrant articles. And I'm not really looking to deploy that money. I mean, this is the time of year that I'm looking at is, we can't overspend the cumulative bottom line. We all kind of need to know what kind of space do we have if we have other events that come up. So that's what I'm looking at. So we still have some space. It is incredibly tight, much tighter than I like it to be. And I think the other comment that I would make on that is that, you will have a very, very short list of conversations about encumbrances at the next meeting. What I will be bringing in the next meeting are a couple that we know, like the assessing piece that we carry forward, a couple carryovers that are, they've already incorporated those. You're not taking those out again from here, but beyond that, we often have looked the past couple of years, hey, we've had some money left at the end of the year that we can deploy for other purposes. It's going to be real tight deploying money for other purposes.
Okay.
So, now, so I wanted to give you that context before we get into some of this other stuff, since that was largely how my day was spent. And departments have been really good about making sure, I've been reviewing my updates with them and saying, hey, what do you have, what don't you have? Take a look at these numbers, and, this is what I'm using. If you're going to deviate from this, let me know, so I can adjust accordingly. Everybody's been very cooperative.
Should we as a board do anything in terms of taking an action to lock down some of the budget?
No, you should say thank you for your department heads for being good team players. No, I'm serious in that there's no more strong action that's needed. Everybody's been really good about knowing where we are. So, and has been using this template as their guide. So, I think we're okay.
I agree. I think that, I think we place 50 weeks of trust in department heads and the administrator. I like to think that I can go the whole year with it.
Well, I wasn't looking for a curt response. I was looking for an honest answer.
Yeah.
To a question that I honestly asked in good faith.
Yeah, yeah, and.
Oh, yeah, no,
right.
and I didn't mean that to be curt.
I wasn't saying you.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was saying Mr. Hoke, actually.
Yeah, and, and I guess I come back to, I'm sorry if you took it that way. Everybody has worked very well together, and I don't think, if I needed an action, I'd be asking you for
I
it.
think the response is based on the fact that Jason has been working on the budget all day today, going through the numbers, has been talking to every department head in nauseam to make sure that we're not gonna go, and so he's looking for the board to agree that he's got it under control, and the department heads have done all the right things, and they're
Well,
continuing to
that
do all
would
the
have
right
been a
things.
simple way to say it,
Yeah.
instead of saying it the way it was said.
It's late. Okay, anything else on that topic? Moving on to deliberative?
Deliberative. The deliberative session, as a reminder, can be held between January 31st and February 7th. We have heard back from the school district that the school boards decided to hold their deliberative session on Saturday, February 7th at 10 a.m. So,
So are we gonna go February 7th at 2 p.m., even though we were supposed to go first? Because I thought the town had voted on, a non-binding obviously, but having them all together.
that's a question I throw back to you. Do you want to go after the school on the 7th, or do you want to go on the 31st?
What's the, remind me again of the drop dead date?
Saturday the 7th. That's the window. It's that Saturday to Saturday window.
I'm surprised that they didn't move it up before for a snow day.
Well,
If
you
have
could
a
go,
Tough,
if there's a snow day, you can go after the 7th. That's one of those, that the provision is there that if you have to cancel with the moderator,
I
can
know,
push
I
beyond that.
never wanted to take that chance, I'll tell
Right.
you.
Yeah.
I say we do the 31st.
I agree.
10 o'clock, starting at 10 o'clock, just like we always do. I know, don't worry about it.
Ours is at 9.
Do you want to pick a backup date as well?
Yeah, we probably should. I would just assume either
The 7th?
the 7th would end up being it, but how about, I
How
mean.
about
the
a
backup-
night during the week,
Yeah,
the following
maybe
week?
Maybe it's that Thursday or something like that.
Thursday, following Thursday night as a backup. Starting at 6:30 or something.
So you're talking the 5th?
The 5th?
Mm.
Yeah.
We're really gonna.
Then
pick
it
a
allows
backup
us
date
to-
Just in case it snows? Just in case?
Yeah,
We
we always,
can't- we
we
can't
always
just-
do.
We can't just do it then?
Well, we could do it then, I guess, yeah. I mean, I
I
think
mean, if you
we
cancel
always
this over
do.
2 or 3
But
inches of
the
snow,
only-
I'd be severely disappointed.
Well, we
Well,
are.
the only thing is, Steve, is if they have something going on it's nice to know ahead of time if the auditorium would be free.
Well, let's check see if the auditorium will be free. I'm assuming it's going to be anyway. And let's hold that as our potential date if we have to have a problem. We don't have to publicize it, obviously. It's, the 31st is our date. And I think you've already reached out to our attorney to see if someone's able to cover that, right?
Yeah, but I didn't have a date for them, so it was a little hard for them to,
They're okay with the 31st.
yeah, I mean,
What time are we starting?
10 o'clock?
I guess we won't be getting more at ours. Or
No,
Jay's.
I've been told we're not gonna get Laura too.
well, we got Laura last year, so,
Oh, maybe we will get,
I
maybe
want-
we'll get her
no,
at
I
ours
want-
this year.
I want Laura.
We've had Steve, Jay, Laura.
Yeah, so if
Mr. Mitchell.
if there's no objections, let's just do the 31st at 10 o'clock at CHS
all right,
auditorium.
I'll set the various
Yeah,
notifications
yeah,
in
make
motion,
sure the
and
moderator knows about
moderator,
it.
and all the others, so, yep.
I guess I'm surprised they still didn't want to do it together. But, and you can notify
Oh, well.
the budget committee on tomorrow night, I guess.
Mhm.
All right, cool. Anything else in deliberative? Well, we have to figure out obviously we have to start thinking about the presentation and all that. We had talked about at one point, the budget committee presenting the budget. Is that what we still want to do? And we just present the default in, or?
It's their budget.
Right. Has
This
anyone,
isn't our budget that goes
has anyone
before.
brought this up to them? I think I remember
The
hearing.
attorney brought it up to them when they were basically deciding
That's what I
whether
heard.
Right?
whether there was, how can I say this? When the attorney spoke to him, I'll just leave it at that.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, and we'll support all the other warrants and all the other requests, because it's all ours. Okay. Warrant articles?
Warrant articles. I want to, I think we have talked about these several times, so I just want to make sure that we're all okay, because I think we're slated to bring the monetary ones to the Budget Committee on Thursday, advise them of the purposes, so. Fire department, and I guess, you know, what I'd say at this point is we still have, I mean, if you want to vote, you can vote. Obviously, some of these still need some rewording because they go through council and through DRA. So you can vote them then, you can vote them whatever your preference is.
But the numbers are accurate as far as the,
Yeah, I don't see the numbers, I have no need to change the numbers.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
this is what we talked about earlier?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, then, should we go through these cumulatively and just make sure, and then if there's any issues,
Mhm.
we'll flag them?
Mhm.
Okay,
Or you can just jump to the ones that I know have got to be flagged now.
I mean, we have talked about all of them here, so if there's.
okay, so just for my own peace of mind, fire department utility vehicle, any issues?
I just ask one more time, are we going to be able to find a vehicle for 20K that'll satisfy their
Yes,
weight needs?
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
yeah, we found a potential used vehicle, if I happen to have the money floating around now. Chief and I were just talking about it today.
Based on
So-
our earlier conversation, I don't see that happening.
Yeah, yes, based on yeah, exactly, but we found a possibility, so. So again, I think having it available will be opportunistic when the right chance comes up. Paint machine?
Yep.
Road improvement? 102, Route 102 intersection? Fire department air pack replacement? Public Works Expendable Trust Fund. I'll just note on that I haven't bumped that number up at all, based on, we've clearly had overages based on winter this year. Humans,
Are we gonna bump that number up, though?
I would say right now, no.
Do we
If-
wait, do we end up waiting to deliberative if we have to do it?
well, either that or you wait until the, year end, and if the budget committee recognizes, if you need to do it, you got to go back and visit to them. I'm trying to do it without taking any more from there. If circumstances change and you need to, you need to.
And the budget committee is actually not gonna vote on the warrants until January, right? They wanna present them in this
My
Thursday.
recollection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Human service agencies.
Yep.
Okay. Wage plan implementation. Okay, and I think we have some issues related to the 2 facility paving articles.
Yep. Do you wanna start with the fire?
So I'll talk to him, I'm talking to both of these, the fire as well as the solid waste at the same time. I went down today to take a look at both of the facilities and see what they look like. And I looked at the contract, or the quote that was put in place from DLB paving. The one, the solid waste facility parking lot, we're probably within a year or 2 years of having to do that, and could sneak by, which I'll get to in a second. But if you assume that 25,000 makes sense, that's okay. My only concern is that, at least on the drawing that was done, the drawing tends to stop at the fence, and my belief is that we actually have some really bad, I'll call it road, that leads up to the fence on the uncontrolled side
Yeah.
of the facility. That's got to be done, and that would go, I would say we need to go from Jack's access point into the facility, because there's really a lot of damage and breakup of the hot top that's in that area, okay? So that's one thing. So I think it actually is probably slightly more than 25. What it is, I don't know. But from what I saw, the plan that you had, it didn't seem to address that. It only went to the physical fence, okay? I think the bigger issue is the fire department parking lot. Now, when I reviewed these 2 parking areas, or these 2 driving areas, I took the road agent with me. And we both looked at these at the same time. The fire department parking lot is totally broken up. There's pieces of tar and asphalt in there that you could literally lift out of the parking lot if you wanted to. That's how badly it's broken up. Unfortunately, if you look at the quote that was given to us, the quote says that it is a quote for shim and overlay, which struck me as pretty odd, because I don't think you can shim and overlay that very successfully, because it's too broken up. So I asked Jack his opinion on that, and he agreed with me that we ought to consider, instead of doing a shim and overlay, we ought to do what they call a grind and recover, which means you basically refresh the whole damn thing. So Jack then took over and called up DLB and talked to DLB paving on that. And DLB paving came back with a reclamation cost of roughly $20 per yard, which gives you a total cost for that project, if you're gonna reclaim it, of $70,000 rather than the $40,000, which is, if I remember correctly, is the quote. And that would give us basically a brand-new, fresh area, parking area, everything else there. DLB told Jack, and Jack related this to me, that if we had overlaid that, his feeling is it would break up in another 3 years or so. And we'd be probably seeing cracks in that overlay or that shim coat, or whatever you want to call it at that point in time. So his recommendation is to do that. He also feels that there should be another drain in the parking lot that's installed.
I was just gonna ask.
And he felt that there should be a drain in the parking lot, and maybe Kevin, you know better than I, but he said somewhere in front of the doors.
Yeah.
And then that would be piped into the existing drain that's over on, be facing the facility, the right-hand side,
That cable side.
between the old town hall and the fire station. He told Jack that he would put that in for that same cost of $70,000. So that would be a all-inclusive cost, the new drain, plus the grind and relay and everything else. And that would also bring the existing drain there, they'd have to take and brick it up, I guess is how they do it, to
Mhm.
the new height for the parking lot and all that stuff, so.
How,
Now, the opinion that Jack had is, if the because of the price increase, if the board wanted to consider it, he would agree with that we could back off on doing the recycling center for 1 year, do the fire station this year, and then come back and do the recycling center next year.
has anyone talked to David? Because it's Dave's facility, so it's nice that Jack agreed to it, but Dave, I think Dave will agree that, because I know Dave was a little leery about us even going forward with it, so it's not gonna be an issue there. My question is, when we did these original quotes and had them looked at, did DLB actually go on site and look at them, or was it based on just someone saying we wanna do this or that?
Here's what happened, according to what Jack told me on the phone today, is he talked to DLB. He and DLB walked the recycling center and agreed upon what needed to be done. Then DLB went down to the fire station and looked at it on his own. And apparently there was a miscommunication between the two. This is what Jack said. And he thought that Jack wanted to only do
Oh, okay,
Human
all
a
right.
skim coat or whatever you want to call
Okay.
it.
Shim and overlay.
Shim and overlay,
Okay.
right down at the fire station. So that's why the shim and overlay quote came
Okay,
in.
I just wanted to make sure that, I was trying to figure, I don't know how it would change all of a sudden without some kind of assumption being made, so,
And,
that's
Mr.
fine.
Chairman, and I know this may not seem important, but I'm wondering psychologically, it's not only the fire department lot.
I was gonna ask that.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's fire department, Old Town Hall, cable, and the community church uses that lot.
Right.
So I'm just wondering if we should put municipal lot somehow, so that it, people will just not only think, wow, geez, the fire department's getting a whole,
Yeah, no, I think that
Mess
makes
of
sense.
other-
I think we should change it, or at least make sure you understand it's
it's a
encompasses all
municipal
those.
lot on
Yeah, it covers all
Route 3A. You've got the veterans flag.
I think if you put municipal lot on 3A, people are gonna go, where's that?
Yeah, I would say the
The
parking
old
lot-
town hall lot.
Yeah,
I would,
yeah.
everybody that, since I've been here, they always knew it as the old town hall lot.
I just call
And-
it, yeah, Old Town Hall Fire Station.
Old town hall fire station, right. But I would add rather than subtract. I would, be more explanatory than that. And I certainly would think that that's a very sensible way to do that. You do it right. You
Yeah.
do it right the first time. And then defer solid waste until next year if it is, I go up there all the time and I think it would be fine for a year, but although I'm not an expert, but I think if we could defer it 1 year, I
The
think.
recycle center has smaller areas that could probably be patched
Yeah.
and get through another.
That's what
area.
Jack said.
Yeah,
There's
so
a couple
I agree with that. I
patches.
mean, even when we presented it, we all said the fire department was the priority, because that's the bigger work, and it's the one that's falling apart. Again, we're coming forward, warrant articles, the residents have the ability to say yea or nay to either one. But if this board wants to drop one in favor of that and talking about the importance and focusing on that one project, that makes sense too. I mean, if we're trying to, it's $70,000 versus
For
40.
discussion, I'll make a motion to defer the solid waste facility paving and appropriate $70,000 for the purpose of reclaiming and resurfacing the old town hall fire department parking lot on Route 3A.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Yeah, DLB paving is aware of this and is coming forward with a revised quote on this, and they should give it to you at Town Hall, Jason, tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay.
Should I say up to, or, by May or by April, when town meeting or March, well, of course, the way fuel is going down, I think that'll be plenty.
Yeah,
I'm thinking that should be
Well, I
just
think the
fine.
quotes even say 2015 prices.
yeah, I think that the quotes were, the last set was given with the intent, knowing full well that
Okay.
it would be next
Okay,
year.
then I'm all set with it.
Okay. Further discussion? Go ahead.
taking off the, I mean, you're talking about taking off $25,000-$30,000, the people have the right to choose up or down. Why?
Right.
I mean, we're asking them to fund 160 grand to engineer an intersection in a roadway that's probably not gonna get built. Which one's more important? Something that we're actually gonna use, or something that's probably gonna sit on the shelf so long, we're gonna have to pay to do it again or revise it before we actually get it done?
Valid point.
You know, my point, my argument against that would be, the citizens asked us to go get a quote and bring that back on it.
Mhm.
I mean, we're under direction from the prior
The voters,
vote
yeah.
of the citizens to go bring that forward. In this case, we're not. Also, in this case, the cost of doing the parking lot at the recycling center is $25,000. One of the things I was gonna ask tonight, Jason headed me off on it, was could we find the $25,000 in the budget? It appears not right at this present moment. But if we had the $25,000, we could potentially do that without incurring a warrant article, is I guess my point.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstained? Motion
Aye.
carried.
I'm
Motion,
abstaining only because I'm a member of the fire department.
okay, yeah, so motion passes 3-1-1. Okay. Any other actions on warrants? I don't think so. So we're good to clean these up in their wording formats, get a copy to Frank and the budget committee so they have them for that Thursday night meeting?
Yep.
Now, this isn't a complete set of warrants, there's gonna be others potentially on there. The advisory in the pipeline, and
All we're sending over is the financial ones, the.
Those are the ones they need to make recommendations on. So I have the capital reserve, fund management, tax cap, and then we have sort of this advisory on pipeline.
Okay, now we've officially voted on all of them?
Yeah, roughly. I think we have to re-vote them all before the budget committee does, so they have our recommendations too, but,
Right, that was,
yeah, we haven't actually tracked the actual vote, but we've agreed on them all.
Right, and you've agreed that that,
The numbers make sense.
and that we should be sharing the ones that have a financial impact with the budget committee this week.
I don't think we need to vote on these tonight, simply because we don't have the ability to vote right now on the budget warrant anyways.
Mhm.
This board may decide it wants to or doesn't want to support the budget warrant.
Correct.
So, I mean, that's gonna have to come later.
We just have to vote on it before their January 7th meeting, I would
the
think.
thing
Right.
is, our recommendation can't go on not for the budget.
Sure,
No,
It always has.
it always has.
I'm telling you, I was told last year that the only recommendation that goes on the budget article is the budget committee. Because the budget that,
That's not what the training just said.
The warrant article that was approved by the citizens requires the vote of the Board of Selectmen on any.
oh, and I understand, but I'm surprised that I got that from DRA
Oh.
last year. So I'm certainly may be wrong, and of course, the way I was getting stuff from DRA last year, anything's
Yeah.
possible. Because the only one recommendation we have on ours is budget committee.
Okay.
And the reason they said is because this is, the budget was put forward anyway. Because the number that the board of,
That's a strange recommendation.
I know.
Because because we report the board's budget,
right.
and we report the budget committee's budget,
Correct. So,
but.
oh well.
Well,
But I mean, it certainly may be wrong, because you are correct, Frank, that if the budget committee puts forth a number that, we don't agree with, I would like to think we'd have the opportunity to say,
Right.
not recommended.
Yep.
So, I'm gonna go back on that. I have to, because I'm doing ours now, so.
all right, it's, before we continue on, it's 6:38. It's a little bit past our time for public input. I'm gonna open the floor for public input. If anyone from the public would like to speak or come forward, please do. We don't have anybody tonight, so I'm gonna close public input at 6:39. right, moving on the agenda. Default budget.
Default budget. I had left this with you all last time, that the default budget I've calculated is about $75,000 less than where the budget committee's proposed budget stands at this point, and that the only adjustment I saw was plugging in new health insurance numbers when we received them in early December. I have received those health insurance numbers. The not-to-exceed pricing that we've been given, it would be a 6.4% increase effective July 1st. I attached the note from, oh no, I have not, did I have attached? No. The final price may be less. It's been a little difficult to gauge since we've only been with the interlocal trust for 2 months. So, they gave us that number and gave us kind of the various caveats with it. They're looking further out with hardly any data to work with. In the budget that you all approved, I had budgeted a 5% increase effective July 1 next year. So the difference between the original budgeted amount and the not-to-exceed amount is $2,282. So, not a huge number. And again, we may not come in at that full 6.4%. So that's your exposure between what I gave you as a budget number and what the, our worst-case scenario. So I guess, given that information, I would suggest that you probably don't need to jump through the hoops to revote your proposed budget to accommodate that increase.
You're talking about the proposed budgets of the budget committee
Yeah.
and all the default?
Yeah, I mean, it's, like I said, it's 22, because there's no guarantee we're gonna come in at the
So you had
6.4.
five as you budget, okay.
I budgeted 5 already, so.
Is the budget committee waiting for us to come back with those numbers, though?
Traditionally, we have come back with that number.
I mean, I'm assuming it's safe to let them know that we've received not to
I-
exceed 6.4 and let it go.
I would guess that the best course of action would be to have Jason send those not-to-exceed numbers to the chairman of the budget committee and said, this is the latest update.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to address it, they do. If they don't, they don't.
So let's do that.
Okay, that's fine.
If we can get it out tomorrow, that'd be great.
And you're going to send them also the warrants, right?
Yes.
For tomorrow night or for Thursday? Or you're gonna do it for Thursday night? I mean, you gotta do it tomorrow then, right?
Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. I
They
just need to clean up our working copy a little bit, and I'll send it off to them.
Okay. Any other discussions on the default budget?
Yeah. How did you calculate this?
How did I calculate this? I calculated this based on where I could, known items from the last fully approved budget, which was 2 years ago. And then places where we had contractual obligations that went up, down, otherwise. I included those. I did not include any proposed future-oriented changes. My usual argument of if I bought 100 pencils last year and I want to buy 2 pencils this year, I did not reduce the proposed default budget to the proposed budget
Okay.
number. So, the way that I've calculated it in the past.
Anything else in default?
Yeah, the only thing, we're going to send this to the budget committee as well.
When do you want to send it to the budget committee?
If we're done with it now, why not now?
We can.
What I don't want to get in a situation, I'm sensitive to, I don't want, and I understand perfectly that this is not a budget committee necessary item, but I just don't want to have delays in the final putting together of the budget
Mhm.
become the responsibility of the selectmen, I guess I'll put it that way.
Is it a fair ask to, when we send this to them, make sure they understand what's not in this budget? Meaning, the things that we are asking for that we actually absolutely have to have that are not here. I mean, they should know that, but.
No, what we
If you said
should,
it's a $75,000 difference between what their current proposed budget is and the default. My fear is they just knock $75,000 out of the budget and make it equal. But maybe that wouldn't happen.
well then, But then they'll have ignored the data we've provided, and then our obligation is to explain it. That's not what the default budget is. So if you end up in that spot, then you have to have a conversation about what that means. But presenting, I mean, the default budget, in my mind, should be presented, hey, here's the default budget worksheet that we have to present.
Yeah.
Because this is our obligation from the state to provide that. Oh, and by the way, by law, the selectmen can update and change that up until the warrant is posted, based on
And I'm not saying that we
information.
give up all rights to change it, that's not what my.
No, but to give them the ballpark on where it
So
is.
you're gonna send them the form, you're not gonna send them the spread,
I would not send this spreadsheet. This is our this is our worksheet. The form, because they don't calculate that number. The selectmen set that number.
I know.
So, I would do the form.
Okay.
I would do the form for that.
Do you want us to vote this?
We should be taking a
You,
final vote.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering if it's ready.
no, because
Oh, well,
I
then-
have one more number to put in. You guys discussed a contract earlier this evening. I have to put
Right.
those contract numbers in.
So why don't we defer
wait.
voting on to the last meeting in December that we have planned for that? And
Yeah.
that They can see it as preliminary, they can let them know the budget, that the board has not actually approved it, but this is our current.
Yeah.
Going forward direction. All right, anything else on default?
No.
All right, gas pipeline update. And just as a clarification, at the last meeting, Jason was told to go ahead and meet with the folks. I think they came in on Friday.
We came in Friday.
So Jason, give us an update on that meeting. I don't think anyone here went to that meeting, but it was Friday. So,
Met with the delegation associated with the Kinder Morgan pipeline proposal on Friday. I've attached some of the materials here, and there are some hard copies in the folder as well. I have asked for additional electronic copies of some of the things that they've put together to be sent to me, so I can post them on our website to make them more accessible to the general public and have people kind of go look at on our end rather than trying to find them through the big corporate end there. It appears that there will be many opportunities for meetings, public information, input, et cetera, over the next year or two as it goes through the regulatory process. They've tentatively requested to return to meet with the selectmen at a meeting in January, and they'll confirm that schedule with me. So, for some background, the approximate timeline, they did their, they need the federal approval from FERC. Their pre-filing was done in November. They expect that after a year of going through that pre-filing process, they will file for a permit from FERC in the fourth quarter of 2015. There's a variety of informational meetings that they will hold, as well as formal FERC scoping meetings to determine the federal review, and all of those, based on what they are looking at now, will happen next year. Those FERC scoping meetings will be at least one per county. So, given where we are, we'll be surrounded by meetings, given that they go through several counties here. The state has a parallel process that they have for a site evaluation committee that they use for siting energy projects. That will be happening sort of at the same time with this. They will hold hearings as necessary. The various parts of the pipeline proposing group will be available for further meetings as needed with selectmen, planning boards, conservation commissions as needed. The current plan is to use an east-west corridor already in use by PSNH. They would bore under the river from Merrimack and then have a buried 30 to 36-inch pipe through town in a 50-foot right-of-way. So, in general, close to, as close as possible to utility lines, where, unless, they start finding places where it's not feasible. They've identified a 400-foot study area along that right-of-way corridor to begin survey work. So, they're looking at a much wider swath right now to figure out where can they place it within that right-of-way. And identify any associated issues. With property owners within that 400-foot study area will likely begin receiving letters and notices shortly from them requesting access for surveying. Because that's the first part they have to do, is go figure out what are all of the issues in the corridor that they need to know about. The group also included representatives of Liberty Utilities, who's planning to be a customer. Liberty feels the lower cost, greater volume available to them will allow them to expand natural gas service to more customers. So, I emphasize that a system expansion would be of great interest to Litchfield. Observe that having a meter off the through pipeline in the vicinity of Albuquerque would allow easier access for potential customers off the Albuquerque corridor. So, they estimate the crossing of town with pipeline would be 2.68 miles, impacting up to 67 landowners. Their estimate, and I have not gone back and recalculated or verified this, so you can take it for what it is, but their estimate of annual property tax payments to the town would be in the amount of $281,153.
Well, no.
So if that, if that's accurate, that'll put them in the top 5 taxpayers in town.
You know that'll never be the number.
You notice why I wrapped the caveats around it.
They're just trying to make it sound like it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Hey,
And as soon as it goes through, they'll be like, wait a second, it's not really worth much. It's just a pipe.
it's all right, still more than we got.
Yeah, so the absolute number I'm not counting on, but, there is a decent amount coming
Hey,
through.
running down the right of way for the power lines, the power line companies already paying taxes too?
Yeah.
So how do we get taxes twice?
Because you're
It's a
taxing.
different service.
Yeah, you're taxing.
It's a
You're
public-
taxing the fixture in the right of way.
Right.
But the other thing to understand is, the power line company doesn't own underneath the
easement,
power
right.
lines.
Mm-hmm.
That's owned by private
That's
citizens.
where the landowners come in.
Okay.
Now, a couple things. Do you know why they're talking 400-foot study area? I don't understand that. Are they talking environmental impact, or are they talking something else?
Yeah, that's, if you look at the map, they basically took the center line that is more or less the existing utility line, and they're looking in that larger swath, the concern being, if you find wetlands or notable issues within that area, they want to have as minimal impact as possible, so it may not be a straight shot. So that's why they're looking in the slightly larger corridor.
And the other thing is, I don't know, I don't have any idea, but there may be a lot of public interest in this, and it may be that we want to move this meeting somewhere else where more people could fit in the room. Because, if you look at the pipeline map, there are a bunch of houses that this thing's gonna go near.
Mhm.
And I would guess that there's gonna be concerned citizens here to participate in the meeting.
Right. So so the meeting in January, when we have our initial meeting with them, we want to be in a different venue?
I'm
Sure,
just
sure.
raising the question, I don't know. I mean, it could be your typical meeting where you think there's gonna be every Tom, Dick, or Harry, and Jane, and whatever there, and what you end up with is 3 or 4 people.
Right.
I don't know.
But won't they be having public hearings anyway?
I think,
So maybe we should keep our meeting with them to whoever.
Well, even if we did, because it's a meeting for them to talk to us, not necessarily talk to the
Right.
public. We're gonna, to Frank's point, if there's a whole lot of people listening, want to listen in, we gotta figure out how to accommodate them.
I mean, you think about it, we're gonna have to we're probably going to want to have fire chief here, police chief, emergency management, highway department maybe, I don't know, to hear what they've got to say, because it could impact them.
the challenge is understanding where everybody is in the process and trying not to get cart before the horse we are. I don't know where we are in this process, if their view is a brief introduction, not much more than, I probably spent half an hour, 45 minutes with them, just kind of a brief introduction versus an omnibus present everything to the community piece. If it's a brief introduction, we're probably okay here. If it's a open it up, here's the whole package, here's everything we need to know, let's interact with as many citizens as possible, then we need a different room. So I think that's,
Well,
Play it by ear.
yeah, and I think as they try to formalize something for next month, I'll get a better sense from them, and we'll see where it is. And we're rapidly seeing meetings of all sorts of different sorts popping up in our neighborhood too. So, I see different towns are doing things. I know NRPC has talked about working on some things regionally. So, we also may not have to carry the whole burden ourselves here either. So, but
Okay, anything else in the pipeline? All right,
This information's public, right?
yeah, it is. It is. Yep.
yeah, and we were just talking about, we're getting some more electronic stuff, we're gonna create a page on our site that's
Yeah.
focused on the pipeline, and we'll get it out there. and
Yeah,
everything.
I asked them for better electronic copies than my scans from the copy machine. So,
All right. Any other items? Anything else? You set?
I think I'm good unless anybody has any other questions about things in the informational items. The only other,
Yeah, the Town of Webster warrant article.
mhm.
Why did you post that as informational? Are you expecting that we're gonna be asked to put the same thing up, or?
I posted it as informational because I've posted as informational months ago when I first got this request from Webster, and nobody raised it to pursue. So rather than just assuming it's dead, I got a request again. So from Webster
Is that the one to fully fund education?
to fully fund education, asking that towns put up a warrant article. Asking our governor and state legislators to reform state funding for education.
Do you want me to tell you I'm not interested in doing that?
I'm okay.
All right,
The only other thing I'd note is that we have had a significant amount of interest in the wastewater study, which has filled my past week with
phone calls up to phone.
phone calls and visits and up to my eyeballs with engineers. So, and those proposals are due at the end of this week.
All right, before we go into selectmen reports, we want to discuss participation on boards. Frank, you asked that to be put on the, on the
Yeah,
agenda.
and I'm not, first off, let me state that I don't have a problem with people participating on boards or whatever as town employees. That's not the point. It occurred to me that if somebody is participating on a board, or a committee, as a town employee, then there's a couple things, that we ought to consider as a group. And that is how that individual participates, and do we feel comfortable that that time away from work is granted? And two, are we comfortable with them serving on the board, making decisions that could impact the town? And as a minimum, we should know about it. So I guess my thought was we should probably put in place a policy on that. I don't think we should get into a situation where we limit anyone's ability to serve on a board of their own volition, on their own time and everything else. I think it's only when they're serving on that board that it takes away from their time as a employee of the town, and also takes away from time or makes decisions that could directly impact the town. I guess I wanted to raise that as a discussion for the Board of Selectmen.
Are these are boards that we appoint, or boards that they do as, just as
I
professionals?
don't know, I mean, and I don't want to make an issue. Jason, I know, is serving on a board, and that's not, I'm not going after Jason, I don't want people to think I am. But for example, Jason serves on
Your property liability trust.
Property Liability Board.
Right.
Okay, so he has to spend day a month, I don't know, pick period of
Yeah.
time, day a week, day a month, I don't know. It could be depending upon the Secretary of State. It could be day a day. But I think there's two factors I can see surrounding that. One factor is Jason has to spend his time away from his job that he does for the town to work on that, and that's fine. The other thing is he's making decisions that could influence and could impact the town. And it would be my thought that we as a Board of Selectmen should grant that permission before somebody serves on that or somebody participates in that. Another case in point could be, let's see, an employee who serves on a board of directors for, let's say, for the sake of discussion, they served on a board of directors. Let's say the road agent served on the board of directors for Continental Paving. You know, we may want to know about that.
Of course, that would be in the ethics policy.
That'd be in the ethics and conflict policy.
Yeah, that's taken
Probably.
care of there.
Probably. There would be a direct conflict there as an issue.
Right.
Let's say they served on Audley Corporation, which does roads for the state.
Right.
Do you want to give that employee time off from their town duties to serve on those boards? I guess it's a matter of communication more than anything else.
Well, the other thing we have to consider too is when people serve on these boards, it's also professional growth, and it's part of their professional careers. In the case of Jason, he's doing it because he's in the municipality administrator, and this is how he keeps track of what's going on in certain aspects of it. And just to Jason's point too, he did make the board aware of it when he joined. But, and I don't know how often he's out of the office. I've never had a problem getting in touch with him, so I don't know, even when he's not here, so.
I think to Mr. Byron's point about communications, I certainly, I tend to agree, and if you do serve on a board, you just let your superiors know, but I personally have experience serving on boards and found that by nature of serving on these boards, I'm able to bring back more to the town and in a form of benefits than the town ever, than the detriments of the town by having me go out.
I'm not saying there's a detriment, I'm just saying that.
And I understand, you probably, certainly, maybe those of us that do that can certainly communicate what, maybe in a little bit more, even myself, I probably need to go back to my board from the NHMA board and say, well, these are the issues that you're nice enough to let me go, and there is a point to that, but I'm thinking that, like, I know that serving on the board personally, I have to make sure that my time in the town is not jeopardized, that my work is not jeopardized, and I have to do that, and Jason has to do that too. We cannot serve on these boards at the expense of our operations in the town. And
Right.
I don't know that we need a policy, but certainly I think I know what you're saying about communications, and I'd probably only ask for,
Well, what if you have a problem?
as far as
Let's say that you're a service on the board, you serve on the NHMA Board of Directors, and you now had to meet twice a week, 3 times a week.
then I probably couldn't fulfill that.
Right, but isn't that something that you should have your Board of Selectmen aware of? I mean, before you sign up for that board? That's all I'm saying.
I would think at that point in time, it becomes an issue that would have to be talked about and discussed.
Sure.
And if it becomes overcumbersome, it would be, you need to make a decision,
Right,
but it has to be on your time at this point. I mean,
right. And
you can roll with this
we've been
stuff.
able to do this. And the boards know that the people that are serving cannot take this anymore, and they're very good about that. They understand that we can only be away, limit them once a month, and for 2 hours, and that's all that we're away. And to your point of making decisions that may the boards, I think, that are out there, I know, speaking for myself, the decisions that are made are totally to benefit the towns.
So,
Absolutely to benefit the
let me
town.
give you an example. Let's say that we had an employee who was a problem employee, who was basically almost on, warning,
That,
or is on a warning.
that employee wouldn't be allowed to do it. We wouldn't give them
But
time.
under the current system, the employee just signs up and does it.
No.
That's my point.
I guess if you think about the direct manager or the direct superior, or whatever how you want to call it, is aware of it. If that's a problem, in the case of Jason, and we're not using you because that's the issue, but you're the example.
Well, I mean, we don't have a lot of other examples, so I guess
Jason
it's gotta,
serves on a committee. He
you
made
know.
this board aware, and as far as I know, there is no, his role in that board has not been impacting his ability to do his job, or his ability to be reached by whether it's a board member and or an employee looking for guidance or direction or whatever. And if it does become that, then it's up to us to step in and say, no more.
let me give you a little bit of that, because I feel like we're solving a problem that,
Yeah, we're making.
we're, you know, that basically we're talking about me. And you've said it's not about me, but the reality is,
Who else serves on these
most of the participation is me. Town clerk, tax
Well,
collector
Terry
is
serves,
involved
right.
extensively in her organization, and, you know, but
And the organizations depend on that.
it is.
Well, in the
Now,
case of the town clerk, too, she's away a week, but that's a conference she gets benefit out of. Not only does she running
well,
it, but
Well, we all go to
there's
conferences.
monthly meetings and there's all the rest. But I think what ends up happening is we all end up juggling professionally what makes sense. There's an understanding that you gotta stay with your primary job and you have these other obligations. You all appointed me a couple years ago to the NRPC Transportation Advisory Committee.
And that's perfectly fine.
And I make but to be fair, I want to use this example because I make about 3/4 of those meetings a year. Because the remainder of them, I can't justify juggling whatever else I have going and getting over there. Brent, wearing his other hat, will know that my participation in the Municipal Managers Association is atrocious. I would have loved to have been at a Friday training session. I was on vacation 2 days this week, and I had a Property Liability Trust Board meeting that was critical to the organization. I threw something overboard. So we juggle those sort of things to make sure they can all work all the time. And I'll tell you, I mean, the Property Liability Trust case, part of my interest in being there is making sure from the town's end that we continue to have a variety of choices in the marketplace. That organization is based on its paying members, towns participating. On the other side of it, we're also a customer. So come next year, you may be looking at comparing prices in the market again. And, I already gave Karen the heads up when I joined the board, hey, I'm probably going to have you be the point person working with Primex, putting all of the numbers and details together, just because I'm comfortable I can do it. I don't want anybody to think that,
you don't want.
I'm moving anything behind the
But if you never
scenes.
told the Board of Selectmen that, and you just went off and did this, you don't think there'd be a problem?
If he's disappeared from his work and we don't know where he is, yeah, there would be a problem.
No, I see what Frank is saying. I do it, just the idea of asking the board permission to
Or gaining
participate.
consent, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And, which we do, and I think he did,
Yeah.
by
I'm not saying he
nature.
didn't.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a common courtesy thing too,
So,
to even,
let me ask-
I do that, I request from the board, and I think,
I'll give you a classic example. When I worked for a corporation, Fortune 500, I had to sign a contract with them because I was a selectman.
I mean, I guess the question I have is, I can see where Jason would have to come to this board and say, look, I'm gonna go serve on this board, I don't believe there's any conflicts, I think it's some benefit, I'll be out of the office, once a month, maybe, whatever it is.
and that's an
But
easy
what about,
thing
for an
to do.
example, and I'm just gonna use, road agents as an example, road agent belongs to the Road Agents Association, he's now a board member of this association, if there's even such association. Does he come to us, or does he go to Jason as the direct day-to-day manager?
That's why I'm saying that there should be some type of a policy on it. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with Jason and him working it out, that's fine with me.
So to me, it's this,
I just, all I'm saying is, do we consent to the time required to fulfill those duties away from the town's business, that's all.
I guess the question I would ask is, have we ever had a problem?
that's what I'm asking. I mean, there's difference between this excused time off from work for these things, and there's not excused. If you're out sick, you're out sick. If you're going out to go spend a time at a day at a board meeting, and your direct manager said it's not a problem, go ahead. It's that manager's responsibility to manage that. If it becomes abusive, or it's every week, or whatever.
Well,
that's
I don't
not
think this board should be
involved in that.
involved in the other departments. I think the
I
only
agree.
conversation this board should have is with the administrator, and let the administrator handle the rest, and,
I think
we may be, I know what Frank's saying, but I think we may be just we have a problem in search of a solution in search of a problem.
Well, that's my question. Do we actually have a problem? And I'm not aware of any unexcused absences from any of the jobs that are sort of the leadership side, right? That would serve these board levels. And in the case of Jason, he obviously made us aware of it when he was appointed to it. That was many, many months ago. And as long as we don't, I agree we should know about extended leave. Like if you're also going to go to a conference for a week,
Yeah,
I don't know,
exactly.
we have to make a decision that we're going to pay or you're going to take vacation time, that kind of thing. That's where that comes into.
I'll only ask, I think that before you would join any board or anything, you would come to the board anyway and ask them, right? And then at that point, I think it's a mood issue after that.
I agree.
Mr. Perry, any thoughts?
I think it's fine the way it is.
So do we have any motions or any other recommendations? All right, moving on. Selectmen reports and requests. Well, Selectmen reports, I don't know why you put the requests in there, but I now know why. Selectmen reports. Mr. Bork. Anything? Mr. Lemire?
I do, I just recently, it's not a report, just a comment. Last week, the New Hampshire House of Representatives held an election, and one of our local representatives is the new Speaker of the House, and I just like to congratulate him. And I've known him for almost 40 years. He's in the fire service, and it's nice to see a local official attain a rank of Speaker of the House, and I wish him well and congratulate him.
Okay, that's Sean Jasper, right?
Yes, Speaker Jasper.
Speaker Jasper. All right, Mr. Byron?
We've had several budget committee meetings. We're now gone on to twice a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays. Since our last meeting, which was last Board of Selectmen's meeting on the 24th of November, we had one on December 2nd, which was a budget committee meeting, and pretty much they spent going through all the school information. There's nothing really related to the town. The budget committee meeting on December 4th went through school stuff, made some deductions, nothing significant. And that's about it. So for the next couple of weeks, we'll be back on to, we'll stay on twice a week until we finish the school budget. And I think really the only thing we have to do is to get all of the information complete to the budget committee, which we've already completed, so I think we're all set.
Good. Now, you still need coverage next week?
I will be away on the 16th, so if somebody can cover, that would be great.
Kevin, you said you would do the Tuesday?
Yes.
So Kevin Bork will, so you want to let them know,
wonderful.
Kevin will join them on Tuesday. Okay, anything else, Frank?
No, that's about it.
Mr. Perry, anything?
We have a Recreation Commission meeting tomorrow, and at that meeting, we should be awarding a contract for the field mowing, which as I have said before, I will get in touch with everyone. I'll just include every one of us in that email and where the bid goes and how much it's for. And Jason, when I do that, if you could scan a couple of the contract in so that you can forward that to Frank, maybe?
Mhm.
Would that be possible?
Sure. As long as they're still in my office.
They are right now.
Now that I know where they are.
Put a couple
So
piles on
Frank,
there.
you'll have that for your budget committee meeting on
Okay.
Thursday. Well, I'll do it tomorrow night, but you'll actually have the contract for Thursday.
Now, I'm supposed to be back on the 18th. And there's a budget committee meeting at 7 o'clock that night. I should be back by then, but in case I'm not, is anybody able to fill that in?
I can probably
So
cover it.
I'm covering the 16th.
Yeah, I can probably cover the Thursday.
And I may, my classes will be done, so why don't I communicate with you?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll make sure it's, just let us know one way or the other, and one of us will be there. Okay? Anything else?
That's it.
All right, and I just have, I just want to give everybody a kind of a update on the storm and the impacts of the storm. So as everybody knows, we had a winter storm come through on Thanksgiving morning, or the eve day, whatever you want to call it. The town did lose, significant amount of population did lose power. I think the count was around 60% at one point. But during that event, the notable thing here was that the town hall, which had lost power, was on generator, had also lost all phone services. We have two access points for the phone service. One's for the 911, or not now, but the emergency service business side of the police department, which is all copper-based, and we have a digital set. They both went down. Engaging Fairpoint, which was a significant amount of my day on Friday, which was my anniversary, in which I was supposed to be shopping. But I spent a significant amount of time on the phone with Fairpoint. Due to the strike they had, there's resource issues and everything else. Anyway, cutting it short, first I want to thank Kevin Lynch for coming down here and avoiding me driving back down from Tilton to escort the guys into the building. But it did turn out the problem was that they lost power at their little CO at the comma Pearson in Albuquerque. And I'm still working with our account team over there to figure out why we lost power, because it's supposed to be on some kind of battery backup, and the copper lines have never gone down in the history that I've known around here. So we're trying to figure that out. But phone services were restored around 4:30 on Friday. And just so the public knows too, 911 was not impacted because all of our 911 lines were actually forwarded to the sheriff's department, who was handling all those calls. We just had no landline communications into the town hall or the police department. It was all two-way and cell only. So that's it. And I do also want to note one other thing too. During this whole time, Jason was on vacation down in Florida and working with the fire chief and myself and Jason in Florida in Disney lines, making calls. We did get out of reverse 911 to let people know when things were going on and different things that we were trying to do to help the community out. We did open up the fire department as a warming shelter and a recharging shelter, although no one actually arrived at the fire department. We did that 2 days straight.
Over those 2 days.
So
Yeah, and just to follow up, and I think, the fire department, I think, had something like 85 calls over that
Right.
stretch. So, we've had kind of a good follow-up amongst department heads past couple days, refreshing what worked. Every time we have one of these, there's one of those, what can we do a little bit better? So fire chief and I had some of that conversation this morning. One of the things that we realized last week, we were looking at some generator issues at the highway department. Some of the code red access issues. Apparently, I'm the most fluent with accessing the system, so we're working on refreshing some other people's knowledge on that.
yeah, the generator. I know we had no way to get fuel at the highway department, so I think we got to figure that. We could always get a generator down there if we needed to, really bad. But
We're getting transfer switches in place, and
Okay.
we'll have it.
yeah, I might. The other side too, for all the folks that volunteered their time, whether they were doing station duty or out there snow plowing, whatever. Hats off to all of them. I mean, most of these folks missed their Thanksgiving. And so, my thanks to all everybody, and I know the community appreciates all the things that those folks do. Hopefully we don't get another storm.
Bring on the rain, right?
Yeah, give me rain. All right, anybody else? There was no items moved from consent. There is no other business.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
3-2, you're out.
Abstained? Motion passes 3-2. This meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting will be on December 22nd?
Yep.
December 22nd, 6 o'clock here at Town Hall.
Oh, God.
Everyone have a great rest of the week and stay warm.
Time is just.
Thank you.
We'll have to cancel.